Um, Hello all. This is All Black Everything, which we have on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, or whenever we manage to get around, right? So 40 minutes in, here we are. But yeah, I thanks for being around. If you watch this on YouTube later on, please like, comment, and subscribe. Helps us out a ton when you do so. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to introduce all these great individuals and get started from there. We'll start with my man, Bam, Black American Made. Thanks for being around. Bam, how are you?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. No, yeah, I'm Bam. I'm on Twitter at @BamBamBiglow. I talk about stuff a lot less interesting than I talk about here, but yeah, that's me.
Yeah, thanks.
God
Next,
save the queen.
next we'll glad we have a true patriot here. We'll talk to Isle. Isle, thanks for stopping by again. How are you?
I'm doing fine. First things first, I just want to say that my heart goes out to all the people of the United Kingdoms and all the Commonwealth. This hit everybody hard. This is unexpected. It happened too soon.
96.
And no one was expecting it. No one was expecting it. This came suddenly. I got the news and I gasped because I was getting busy to go to work, and then I gasped at the news, and it was sad. I've been I love Isles. I'm in the Discord chat. I was battling for the soul of the nation in the chat. It was people are coming at me for no reason other than I'm just a good debater and I have good ideas, but that's okay.
I
can vouch for me for the chat because people are coming after me so hard in the chat. You are in this.
Oh, I'll 5-0. 5-0.
Unbiased.
Totally unbiased.
5-0.
So I was thinking about this. So the Queen died today. If you're watching this later on YouTube, but the Queen died today, and people call Prince Charles now King Charles, like the world's longest serving like understudy, and and the dude's 74, and I'm like, yo, what if this man died next week? Like,
they got 20 people in line. They are ready.
Yeah, yeah, they're ready. No, they got that. But like, I'm just saying, like, wouldn't that be a bitch, right? Like, like, ain't that a bitch? This man waited so long. And I have no idea how this guy feels about like becoming king. Like, I don't know, like, because I imagine he loves his mother.
So I mean,
yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. So like, I couldn't begin to tell you. But just like, still, like, you can't say that he didn't want the throne. And then he's on there for like a hot minute, and because his mother's like the longest reigning monarch, at least in UK history, probably in world history, because like monarchs don't usually live that long in general. Yeah, right. Like 96, most people didn't just live that long in general. Yeah. So maybe she might be the longest one. Period. But like, I was thinking, well, who's the shortest one in UK history? It's probably just like one who got killed like in a few days. like got immediately overthrown.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Edward V, and then one of the princes in the tower. He was assassinated.
Oh, okay, all right. So anyway, sorry, I massively derailed us there, but I thought that was kind of interesting, and I wish for his good health. I don't have anything against fucking King Charles. Let's go to my man Smooth, who's a staunch monarchist, right? Like, he burns incense every night for the royal family, and I I know this. That's the look of a man who's in shock. Okay, so don't let it fool you. We all show our shock in different ways. So Smooth, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm doing good. I want to say I'm okay with this. Like anybody that like honestly, like I'm just gonna keep it a band. Like I don't know the lady. Like she's just a regular person to me. Like I don't know her. Like she died. I'm like, okay, she's 96. You should have been gone like a couple years ago. Anything past like 80, and you're like, no, I'm just being serious. Anything
You're in
past
bonus
80,
time.
I'm not even surprised. If you make it past 80, every day is a gift.
Don't
Every
the
day
Bible, the Bible only
It's a
scored
gamble.
promise you what 7 scores and 10 or something like the Bible
Three
only
score and
promise
10.
He's stone
yeah,
cold.
That's
yeah,
not.
No, he
gives you 96.
gives you like 120, 120
Yeah,
years. I
but
guess.
nah, like she good. She'll be all right. Like she at peace now. I just want to say, yeah, like anybody that propagated or helped in the suffering of Black people, like, all right, cool. Like you're gone. All right, I don't care. I don't care. Karma waited a long time, but here it is.
Oh
Here
man.
it is.
Oh no.
This is why I like
Hey,
Smooth so much.
Look, hey, look, I know what I'm saying is a bit much for some people. I'm gonna need you to go outside. You know what I'm saying? Take a deep breath. I want you to come
Touch
back inside,
grass.
stick your face. Yeah, touch grass, stick your face in the freezer, cool off, and then come back to this video and realize that what I'm saying ain't that crazy.
Leave the stream up though if you're doing that. Okay. But
Yeah. Do leave the stream up the whole time.
We need that run time.
Yeah, Smooth, man, he just escalated things. Look, all right, the Queen was playing overtime. The buzzer finally rang for her, but she might have hit up some fouls in in her lifetime, you know. But I don't know. I don't know enough about her life to make judgments because I was ready to say something about that. But I don't know enough about her life to actually to say that. With
You don't know
authority.
enough about her life. Did you follow American history?
Oh, motherfucker, she wasn't alive during the Revolutionary War. What?
No. What I'm saying is they make notes of all the places in Europe that Europe owned, and then all you have to do is go, type in when did they get free? And you'll see like she was alive during all of them. All of them. And some of them she was just like they applied.
Let them go.
And it no, they applied and she let them go like 30, 40 years later. Like I'm like, bruh. Like
the only interesting part of it is the geopolitical implication. Like the Commonwealth actually could get shook up a little bit. Not Australia.
Who gives a damn? You stole it.
But I'm talking the Commonwealth isn't countries they own. It's just like it's a
man, bro, they were literally literally taking resources.
They're allies.
They literally took resources, people, and all sorts of other mess, man.
But like Barbados, Jamaica, a lot of those countries could stop their donations to the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
But
Oh no,
they can't just stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no way.
More complicated than that,
it's got to be way more complicated.
Why the
They're
hell
not
is
taxed or something.
I'm pretty sure the Commonwealth can get shook up without the Queen in place because it was mostly at this point it was mostly on like GP. It was mostly on like you know what the Queen's cool, but like with her out of place, like some stuff can get shook up. They don't got to respect Charles the same.
Why wouldn't they? Like, if they don't have to, why couldn't they do that to the Queen?
How deep
I think they like
country ties are, bro. That they have country ties.
So just because they like her, they're just giving away resources?
Bro,
that's not how that works, man.
You acting like Puerto Rico could just walk off from the United States. That's not gonna fucking happen. Like there's reasons why we have all these territories.
I'm saying that the Commonwealth is a very loose entity.
It's a lot looser. I'm not sure if they give tribute to like the like.
I heard they do things to the royal family.
I have no idea. They do? Like do we? Okay.
I mean, the Canadians have the Queen on
Canada
their money.
does.
Oh, Canada and Australia
are
are something a bit different because these are powerful, independent countries, right? And if they said
they're also
right now, and I know, but like, but I mean, like powerful in the fact that like if they were to press the issue, there's nowhere the UK is going to war with them, right? I'm wondering like for smaller like some of the Caribbean states that they owned, like if they decide to fuck off without going through the proper channels, like would the UK press that issue? Would they actually have a war? I don't know. But like Canada, they're not going to war with Canada. They're not going to war with Australia. So if they said no tomorrow, I think they're like, oh, we're gonna have to take that. We're gonna have to take that out. So I don't know. Anyway, this is still openings. But thank you, Smooth.
I know where I stand.
All right. Next we got Water Kai back with us, right?
Good to be here.
And we're happy to have you, man. How are you?
Doing good this week. I mean, the queen is dead. Long live King Chuck the third. Maybe we'll get a water powered car out of this. I mean, it could be good. But in the long run, Lethe Water Kai on all platforms except YouTube. Holla at me.
Thing that is in my Twitch chat, like I hear you said Falklands. I was thinking of the Falklands Islands as well because I went to war there, but I don't know enough about that history because I feel like I'm gonna stick my foot in my mouth if I say something. But like my understanding is that they tried to leave, and become independent, and then they weren't having it. But the Falkland Islands was small, and so they could do that with them. That's my understanding, but like I don't know enough about the situation, so I'll just leave it at that. And we have my man Fanatic. Always happy to have him here. I was as soon as Smooth said what he said about the Queen, right? The first place my eyes went to was Fanatic. Because I'm like, if anyone is gonna want to say something about that, it's my man Fanatic. Fanatic, please. And beautiful words from a Fanatic. Insightful as always.
You knew, because as soon as that nigga said that, I was like, this nigga's spitting. I had planned to say something to the same freaking effect. Like, no, I'm not going to suddenly just forget all the atrocities that they were doing and the racism that they did even recently to Meghan Markle, even though I don't care what you tell me. That's a white woman. But, I mean, or at least you probably had claimed that until, it finally came up. And it was like, no, I'm a nigga. Right? But yes, she's biracial. But my point is, plenty of really white passing biracial people will really just claim their whiteness as much as possible until it becomes an issue or until it becomes beneficial to them. People who have the ability to will claim whatever benefits them in that time. For example, Rachel Dolezal, remember how she was biracial? She couldn't tell you like that. She really saw herself as black until she felt discriminated against, and when it came to getting that scholarship at that HBCU, and then she was like, no, they didn't give it to me because I'm a white woman. They discriminated against me because I was white. So she had no problem admitting she was white. Then it's just up, but as a kid, she always thought she was black, right? That's how we're supposed to pretend this? No, you'll claim it whenever it benefits you. One of the videos I'm working on right now is basically that I'm going to be putting out. It's about when we were talking about monkeypox, and that guy, if you guys remember, he was a homosexual man, and he came in there and he was like saying things like, I don't feel comfortable talking about down low, like because it's not my phrase, it's a black phrase, so I don't feel comfortable, right? But then all of a sudden he turned that switch and started doing, black mannerisms and rolling his neck and all sorts of nonsense and snapping his fingers, and all of a sudden he could appropriate all the black culture he wanted to during that time. But then just, he would feel like at some points I want to go ahead and turn that off. And the same thing happens with, the white LGBTQ community. When they need it, they will turn on that white privilege. But aside from that, then they're all on that oppression appropriation page where we're oppressed too. We're just like black people, black. And then the second they feel like oppressed or something, and it's like, oh, no. Let me use my white privilege and call these police officers because they go side with me because I'm white still. Right? Yeah. That was a whole rant. You know what I'm saying? So, I am who I
am. That went all around the world.
It should.
I know how we got here. I was scared at the end. That boy, I don't know what's going on.
Shot everybody.
Caught it. Everyone caught bullets.
As they should.
Yo, wow. This is why I love All Black Everything. Like this is the best. Okay, let's try to pull this together and see where we want to go. Because all right, I had the monarchy thing lined up as our first topic. However, we landed on the infidelity thing. But then during these introductions, like we jump back to the monarchy thing for a second. Do you guys have words you guys want to talk about? You have something you gotta get off your chest about the Queen dying, right? Just something got to happen right now.
Honestly, I feel like I covered 100% of what I would have said in the topic itself from just now. No
Same. This is one of those topics where I feel like I was going to do it because that's what we're talking about. And like, so that's just what we're going to do. But in reality, I'm not particularly informed enough to really feel like I have some really strong opinion that I feel like I'm really going to be able to get into the weeds on that. Like, just personally, because like, for example, we looked up the monarchy thing, right? Like just now, I did right now. And it's like, oh, Canada is not now and has never paid taxes, it said, to the royal family.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, well, I didn't know that. I wouldn't have known that. I wasn't sure, right? And I feel like that's going to be like kind of the story of a lot of this, right? All I can, and I don't know intimately enough to be able to say, what's that?
I said, except for the black people.
What
they made sure they got the resources. They got the resources and money out the black countries, but
for sure.
Probably.
But again, I don't know.
But to be clear, the topic I had wasn't about the royal family. It was about
royalty in the U.S.
Yeah, royalty in the United States. So it wouldn't have required knowledge of like the royal family.
I mean, we almost had a full-on insurrection just to get a king installed here in the U.S.
Nigga,
who's
spitting?
King.
Dang.
And
that's not bars.
Yeah, no, it's right. No, it's actually right. Yeah. But like, so okay, so I just wanted to feel what you guys want to talk about, because we could talk about like the value of having a royal family here. Because there are some there is some values that I can defend that point as to why we would have a royal family here in the States. Yeah. Or do we want to move on to the other thing and like the infidelity and wives?
What exactly is the infidelity and wives thing? Like, I was in and out. Like, people were calling me trying to check on me and shit.
What? Who was calling you trying to check on you?
Yeah, what's going on?
I mean, we got to that topic. I was talking about a movie, but it's unrelated to how we got there. Like, you don't have to know about the movie to talk about it.
Okay, all right. Let's go with the infidelity, since you guys seem a bit unsure. Let's do that. Okay. So, there is a long history, right? This long tradition of, particularly when we're talking about famous couples, where the man does something wrong, usually some sort of sex scandal, and the woman ends up having to stand by them, right? And they'll do so in front of a press conference. They'll do so in front of cameras. I was thinking about like what must go through their minds, and like how traumatic that must be. That this must be some sort of trauma to have to, like, in front of all your whole community and sometimes the whole nation, like be put in this moment where your husband has disrespected your marriage, right? But you're there saying that, oh well, I'm gonna stand by him, and this is just what it's gonna be, right? And having to hold his hand and walk out that door, no questions, please, right? But from a conservative point of view, like, you're supposed to stick by your partner, right? Like, and through a lot of things, a lot worse than this, supposed to stay by them. Marriage is sacrosanct. But should that be the case? Should a partner have to stick by their spouse once they have done something terrible, especially when they've like violated the marriage in and of itself? What is expected of a woman in that moment? And we could talk about men as well. But yeah, let's start with that. So let's go around and have this conversation. Start with Bam. What's your thought?
Yeah, I think that I take the like idea of marriage very seriously. I think that I think we have an issue with people jumping into marriage too quickly in the United States. Is probably why we have a 50% divorce rate. But if marriage is a contract, it is a conversation you have, in my opinion, under God. Like, but you can do things to break that contract, and if someone does choose to stay afterwards, like, kudos to them. As long, well, specifically if it's not something if it's not an internal marriage thing, like if it's not like if someone's like physically abusing them, that's a different situation. I feel like sometimes you have to say you should make an effort to save people from themselves. But in terms of like doing something that like embarrasses them, or like I said, just breaking the sanctity of their marriage with cheating or something like that, I think that anyone has that option to leave. But if they choose not to, I find it pretty honorable. But I do think that people, if you do get married, I do think you should make every effort to protect that marriage. But again, to whatever extent the other person is matching your energy.
Let's go to Isle.
Agree with Bam. I think that marriage is a sacrament that comes from God. You know, two people, a man and a woman, usually. But I guess secularly, a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, if you want to do it that way, I guess. But usually, a man and a woman, they come together and they, and they say to God that they're going to be together. And they're going to love each other in sickness and health, for rich and for poor, for better or worse. And they're going to try and raise a family together and lead the children into the path of righteous Christian behavior. And I think that, when you take those vows, you're actually saying that to God. So I think that you shouldn't rush into it, like Bam was saying. I think you should take this very seriously, and you need to be really thoughtful with the person you want to marry, because there's someone that you're supposed to be, telling God that you're going to be with for the rest of your lives, God willing that you live long enough to like decades into the future with that person. So I think that women, should be like applauded for staying with their man, but they shouldn't have to, because I think when a man cheats and infidelity, you break that promise to God. And I don't think that a woman should be on the hook for that. But I think that they should be applauded as very chivalrous and honorous, because, it's supposed to be a partnership. It's supposed to come together to form one flesh. So just like the man is supposed to uphold the honor of his woman and protect her from outside threats, I think the woman should be able to do the same thing. And that's why I think that it's very heroic when a woman stands by her man. But I think that even that has, there are breaking points where I can see why I wouldn't falter for not doing so.
So much. Smooth.
All right. Now that I have a grasp of what we're talking about, y'all, I would like to say that I honestly think that I like when people stay together, but I just, some of it is dumb though. I'm just gonna be honest. Some of it is dumb. Like, why are you still there? Like, leave. Just leave. Like, certain things are just blatantly disrespectful. Like, and you get that's your one strike and you're out. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, I took him back. He had this baby with this other woman. Like, that's not a mistake. Like people be like, oh, I made a mistake. That's not a mistake. Like, the mistake was having sex with her. You intentionally left that in there. Like, that is intent. Like, to be honest, like, having a baby is intentional. Like, in a way, it's intentional. It's intentional. I don't think that's like outside of your marriage. I don't think that's an accident. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how you have sex by accident. Like, your clothes just don't come off. Like, that's not an accidental event. But if it's something as simple as like, oh my God, you messaged this other person and you shouldn't have. Oh, you know what I'm saying? The hug was too long, or maybe it's like a financial struggle, or maybe it's drug abuse or something like that. Those are mistakes, and those are like snowballs that you could get in, or you just got into a bad habit or something. It doesn't rise to the occasion to me of, yo, I'm gonna dip and just leave this person alone. Male or female, but to get on the female point of having this, like, they typically, I don't know why they're typically the one that has to be like, oh my God, like what's his name? What's the dating guy? Everybody knows who the dating guy is. I think we discussed him when he fell out with his girl, like, because he was cheating on his girl. And he had her on the YouTube video with him, like, when he was
Derek Jackson.
Derek Jackson, there we go. Derek Jackson. And he had this girl on the girl shouldn't have been there. Like there was no reason for his wife to have to be there to shield him from the consequences of his actions. He should have stood there as a man by himself and said, I messed up. You know what I'm saying? And apologized to his wife. Like just on there, said what he did, came clean, and left it at that. That video should have been like all of 5 minutes. Like instead of dragging his wife through it and people being able to ask his wife, why'd you stay there? And being on her page harassing her, saying that she's stupid. Like he didn't do a good job of shielding his wife. He's shown total disregard for her. But she's still there. I kind of think she's stupid. But anyway, I'm gonna end my thoughts because I went on too long.
No problem, Smooth. We do appreciate it. Waterkai.
So, as a proud child of divorced parents, I was not happier the day that they finalized that divorce. All the fighting, all the abuse, all the craziness. I actually had a harmonious household with both of them separated. So I can understand wanting to keep a marriage together, be it through infidelity or whatever. If you can work through that, that's cool. But once it happens, understand you've been disrespected, because to step out on your significant other is disrespect. And they chose to go ahead and do so, not caring about the consequences. So when the cows come home and the chickens are roosting, you get what you get at the end of it. So I respect Camille Cosby, Hillary Clinton, and these people for staying with the men they stayed with for whatever reason they stayed with them. But that's something they have to live with, and that's something everybody's going to remember.
Man, Camilla Cosby. I mean, if there ever was a villain. Let's go to Fanatic, buddy.
Oh my!
I'm so thankful that you mentioned, Mrs. Cosby, because I think if we ever wanted to see a beacon of what a great woman is, I think she's really exemplified that in so many ways. I'm proud of her. She's done a really good job of just showing what true devotion is. And when we're talking about marriage, I think there's two different types of marriages, right? Like, obviously from a Christian perspective, we're going to have one idea, but then like from a non-Christian perspective, I literally can't understand why people even want to be married. I don't think marriage makes any sense from a secular perspective. Nowadays, because it's just like for what? Like there's so many risks associated with it, so many expectations associated with it. It just seems really, really problematic. It just doesn't make any sense to me. From a Christian perspective, it makes all the sense in the world, like why people, why there's supposed to be this devotion. But anytime it starts becoming like forced, yeah, we're going to instantly run into crazy problems. Like you can't tell a person that they have to stick through these sorts of situations. I think that stuff gets ridiculous. Is it honorable to do so? I think so. And different people have different tolerance levels for different things, right? Like for some people, it didn't have to be cheating. It could be just talking back or something long enough can eventually result in like, yeah, we're not compatible, right? And it's literally up to each individual relationship for them to decide. But I do think marriage is sacred from a Christian perspective, and I think you should be striving. I think the Bible gives you a few outs, one of which is fornication, and in such cases, then you can go ahead and divorce and with no penalties. But I do think you make those vows before God, and I think doing so like flippantly is ridiculous. I remember Lindsay Lohan. They asked her, "Do you want to be married?" And she said, "Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I would get married. Like, I don't know if I'd stay married, but I want to get married at least once, to kind of see what it's like." And I remember I never felt more disgusted because it's just like, yo, there's literally no respect for that. Like, what? Of course you're gonna get divorced, but I think that's kind of the Hollywood attitude.
I have thoughts about that. Like, it should be forgiven. Like the Hollywood attitude. Like, it was literally the culture where like it's not expected at all that anyone stays together because no one ever does. So like, should we be so hard on Lindsay for feeling that way? I mean, like from her perspective, maybe it's just like a logical statement. Yeah, I don't know if I'll stay that way because I'll stay married because no, it never seems to work out for anyone. So why would I think I'd be an exception?
Then why even get married in the first place? Why not just do long-term commitments and just not get married?
Oh, I agree. Don't bother. Yeah.
Don't bother getting married. Just like, hey, we got a good thing going. Let's get the government involved. Yeah. Now let's make it so you can take half my stuff.
I think it's a
good
long
bet.
time. You have to be in pretty deep in most marriages to get the half the stuff. But I think that there like I've talked to people who do like it's a lot of risk, but there are benefits like legally and like from a tax perspective from being married. Some people
100%
want to take advantage of. So
they made that.
For incentive for that exact reason.
Yes, and I also think like just in general, like the idea of like raising your children in like the same household. I think that's also like a pretty obvious benefit. So it's not like it's just a bad deal. I'm not trying to like be like fully. But I'm a person that was very, very terrified of marriage because almost all the marriages that I saw didn't work. My parents are going on 50 years of marriage. I didn't consider that to be a working marriage at one point. It's very much a working marriage now, but originally I didn't feel so. And again, all the other marriages that I had seen, like people would stay together, but their marriages weren't successful. I think for a successful marriage, you should have you guys should thrive. You should be in love and see things from similar perspectives and, be able to work together and communicate and all of those kinds of things. Just staying together and not getting divorced when someone else is being disrespectful, inconsiderate, cheating, you guys don't actually bond and all those things. That's not a successful marriage just because you didn't divorce. And I think that's what I saw a lot of growing up.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like posturing. Like the worst marriages to me, honestly, are the church marriages, man. Like I'm like, yo, like, well, at least growing up, like I would see people married together in church, but I knew what was going on. Like I knew like so and so was being cheated on with so and so, and these people are creeping out with these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was just a hot mess. You know what I'm saying? But people stayed together. People knew what was going on, but people stayed together just for the perception. Like there's the people like the prestige and the idea and the title of marriage more than they actually like being married, like actually doing the work. Most people get in there and they're just like want to say, I'm married. You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't matter though. Like it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like when you're going through all those divorce proceedings and you've wasted most of your good life and now y'all both just older and alone for the most part, or y'all go through multiple other relationships, like it doesn't even sound good to me. Like it's like, what's the point?
You have to work to maintain a relationship like that. Yeah, I was going to say you have to work to maintain a relationship like that. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm married," and then stop. You have to keep it going. You got to keep the passion alive. Do some romantic stuff every once in a while. Make sure that you remember people.
I think that I don't know if that exists in the like. I don't know if that can exist for extreme periods of time. Like I think it's okay to have for a healthy marriage to have a reasonable expectation that at some point we're gonna have moments of obligation. We're gonna have moments of like, oh, okay, we're here because we're here, and you can get past that, and then the passion comes back. Like I think that people who expect a marriage to be all passion, all rainbows, I think that is setting yourself up for failure.
For sure.
Well, but we're living in a day and age. Passion, but you have to work for it.
It's always going to be work. There's no doubt about it. It's always going to be work. And I think what ends up happening with a lot of these things is people glamorize the ideas while not actually really recognizing like how difficult some of these things are to pull off. And I don't think it just starts with. I don't think it's just about marriage. I think it's also with childbearing. And I think the primary benefit to marriage is specifically regarding children because you provide a better background for children. Now, if you're unable to have children, you still do get the benefit of companionship, someone to share stuff with. All those things are still crazily beneficial. But I would say the one benefit that it seems like just no matter what you're always going to have is the one regarding children, like being able to like have children in a stable environment where there's more balance and equal inputs. But life in general is just better.
Extremely important. Yeah.
I went to Magic Mountain Tuesday with my girlfriend, and I've gone to Magic Mountain 1,000 times. I love that place, right? Like it's one of my favorite. I love roller coasters. I'm a roller coaster enthusiast. I had more time on those rides with her being there and like being, afraid and holding her hand while she's terrified and all that. That was more fun to me than me riding these same rides that I'd ridden 1,000 times. It gave a brand new appreciation. And I think those are the kind of benefits that you get from relationships where it's like, hey, I can do the things that I'm going to do. I'm an introvert. I do stuff by myself all the time. I can go to restaurants by myself. I can watch movies by myself. I can literally do everything by myself. I have no problem with that. But you do get an entirely different experience sharing it. So marriage is beneficial, but man, it's work, and there are some drawbacks to it. Like, it's work.
So if I guess bringing it back originally, like, so it's say it's not someone who's disrespecting you, but someone who's embarrassing you, like done something to, like, I guess, bring shame to your home household, bring shame to your family. Do you think that that's something worthy of divorce, or do you feel like
what do they do?
I guess it has to be more specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You brought dishonor to my
Like,
family.
is poor
You must
people
leave.
skills good enough?
No, it's
They ruin every barbecue.
Because it
poor
depends
people
on what
skills.
it, like, like, are they deviant or like degenerate? Because
No, I'm trying to think of something that doesn't involve cheating, but like
Oh,
it
okay.
becomes like
I got
public
something.
shame.
I got something for you. Like, they got caught up with like owning child porn or something. Like, okay, yo, we need a divorce. Like, bro,
Degeneracy, yeah.
you're sick. Like, you're sick.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You know
that's
what I'm saying?
degenerate though.
Women
That's
again.
I didn't go that far. That sounds like a super. But that I guess it depends on if you have children.
You know,
'cause I
like
can
a
never
crime
trust you
though.
again.
You know what I'm saying? Like that would
For
that would
sure.
be it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
Deal
point.
breaker.
Like, if we have kids and you're like kid attracted, yeah, it's hard for me to just like think in my brain. Yeah, but you would never do that to our kids. I can't think that way. In fact, yeah, no. This might be the end of this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta go. Gotta go.
I don't know.
We either gotta go or we gotta take you out back like Lassie, man. One or two, pick.
Yeah,
Ooh, okay.
Lassie's good idea.
Okay, here's a good one. I don't know how you've made it this far in your relationship with this coming up, but say that like they've had a change of heart recently. Say that your significant other, you find out is like is crazily anti-black. Like they go through a recreation, they're reborn, and they're like, you know what? Candace Owens just gets it. Like she just and she's like vocal. She's going on all the news runs, but she comes home and she's still your baby. She's still your wife. She hasn't disrespected you, but you know that like this is the type of thing that you are doing now. This is the type of tip you're on.
If our relationship is still good outside of that, right? And we don't have children that she's going to be like teaching those awful values to, well, what's the problem?
Okay.
Right?
Like,
what's
the
the
actual
harm?
Or is that off the table now?
Yeah, no, the children are absolutely off the table. The second you like, nigga, Candace Owens, come on, bro. Candace Owens is like literally. I used to find her attractive. In the beginning, bro, I was a fan. I hate myself for this. Her, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro. I was fans of these people.
I feel the same way. I was too.
I think that logical people. I think that there's. I don't know about all of them, but Ben Shapiro in particular, I think a lot of people, because he comes off initially as the facts and logic guy. So if you're a factual and logical person, it just makes sense that like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm about facts and logic too. And then you engage, and then you learn that like, oh, there's something else here. It's not all facts and logic, because you can see that like there is an extra element here. You're not just the facts and logic guy, and then 100%. You like grow from it, or you don't, or you you stick with it.
So maybe if someone that I'm with is going through that journey, listen, it's going to be a tough time because we're going to be debating. And that's something I try not to get into like heavy debates in a relationship like of that nature, but we're going to be having some heavy debates where we're like, no, this issue, I'm not going to allow this issue to just die. We're going to be talking through these things because I don't know how you can come to these conclusions as a Black person, like expecting to be like having kids with me. Like there's just, I don't know how we get there. But it would be hard for me. I don't think I would be able to get divorced over it, but it would suck. It would suck really bad because now at this point, like kids are like really a huge goal of mine, and I want my kids in wedlock. And if I have to have kids with a coon, I don't think I can do that.
What
Like,
if?
then I'm harming my kids.
Let's avoid using that word because Twitch does suspend for that. But what if she came out as a socialist?
That's pretty gross too. That might be worse
Same
than
thing.
the anti-black thing. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, like my thing is like is
Same
she,
thing,
is
really.
she so look, is she like people, is she like most people, socialist in idea but don't actually do anything? Or is she like socialist and like, yo, we finna give our money to other people like for no reason? Like if she's that level,
so
I mean,
she's
like,
Hassan Piker.
She's starting the co-op.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Socialist
Yeah, like
and charitable aren't the same thing. Socialist and charitable aren't the same thing.
No.
The girl starting the
I
co-op.
would love a charitable wife.
I'm not talking about just being charitable. I'm talking about she's like we're sharing everything. Like, you know what I'm saying, with the community. We're helping, we're embracing people.
Socialism. That's not socialism.
Okay, my bad. What am I thinking of? Am I thinking of communism or something?
You're thinking of charitability. You're thinking of like extreme charitability. That's what you're doing. But
okay, well, let's first define socialist so I can.
It's a system. It doesn't work on an interpersonal level.
Okay,
it doesn't work well.
Okay,
it's when people have the means of production. The workers have the means of production. I think.
Yeah. So
like to be a co-op of labor.
Okay, so my point of bringing that up, right? One,
I'm not helping nobody on the farm.
Okay. All right. No problem.
He means what if she was one of PrimeCayes' friends? And that might be a deal breaker.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a deal breaker.
It would be deep down the rabbit hole.
So you know my point is that like, okay, well, yeah, what if your partner came out as part of a political tradition, right? A political orientation that was diametrically opposed to your own, right? That's sort of what we're getting at with Candace Owens, but I wanted to make it a bit more explicit, right? So like, if you are a bit more like conservative in terms of social or economics, right, you're gonna have a tough time with a socialist like me.
Especially when the C word was like on the left to begin with, and then switched over halfway through. She started off liberal.
Yes, she did. I think it's one of those things where, like, again, I'm always going to be the person that says, as a couple, we can work through these things. But children are where the big problem is, because this is what I've discovered. Okay, all the stuff that we talk, the debates and things that we have about politics, these are about like ideas that we hold, but they're not more personal than our real lives. I can feel like all of my arguments about like reparations and about oppression and things like that, right? Like these are like I'm following data for that, but those might not be all of my real lived experiences. Like I might have experienced poverty at some points in life, but that might not be my experience now. It doesn't mean that I can't understand what poverty is like from my childhood, or it's not like that I can't understand some of the things that I've had to overcome or people around me have had to overcome to be successful. But that's not my personal life. I'm not arguing most of the time from a very personal experience, right? When we talk about the criminal justice system, I don't have a record at all, right? Or when we talk about like debt, I don't have debt, right? So then it's like, when I'm talking about like all of these kinds of things, it's an intellectual thing. But my real life, what I choose to eat, where I choose to spend my time, what I choose to engage with, those are totally different topics that have almost nothing to do with real life. And the people who don't touch grass fail to grasp that very frequently, and they'll start really personalizing these things. I'm saying all that to say, even though I'm a pretty conservative man, I could have a relationship with a pretty liberal person, and I don't think I would have. I don't think it should be that impossible. Today, my girl and I, we were talking about, the Queen passing and so on and so forth. And she said some things, and I kind of pushed back on some things. And she was like, "You think I should delete that post?" And I'm like, "Of course not," because ultimately, like, she's her own person. And if she totally disagrees with me, I'm fine. Disagree with me, post what you want on your own social media. We can see things from a different perspective. And I'm not going to feel like, oh, she's underrepresenting me. But no, you're your own person, and my opinions are my opinions. And if you respect this haggard of a racist queen, that's fine with me. I'm going to look at her the way I do. And I think that's real life. I don't know what I'm a biblical fundamentalist Christian. If I can't find common ground with like everyone else, with people who disagree with me, I don't know how we live life.
So what Fanatic is trying to say there, summed up, is whenever the stream goes off, he cuddles up really tight with his white women.
No.
The first we see on stream is a
Oh,
paid
what?
No.
actress.
White
Oh,
women.
wow.
White women are nasty.
Nasty?
Yeah.
What?
Just I'm kidding. Kind of.
Kinda.
Kinda. Oh man, I to go back to the like, I don't understand. Like for instance, like I guess the good flip side of this is like how Will Smith just stays with Jada no matter what. Like at some point, you have got to pull it. You know what I'm saying? You got to call it. But he just he's like, we're life partners. We're just gonna. I can't continue to figure this stuff out.
It's fun. It's fundamental. Have you heard Will Smith talk about divorce? He is extremely against it, and even his first wife. He said that like he knew early in that like, oh, okay, I'm not as happy as I could be. Like he met Jada before while he was married. He was like, wow, she is fantastic. She said, but I'm married, and I will like nothing in him would ever allow himself to be divorced. And apparently his wife did it. It's not like he like tried to push her to making the call. Like apparently like he was like, it was a really big thing for him that like he did not want her to be divorced. But the moment he did, like the moment it was like there was nothing else he could do about it, he was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go be with Jada now. But like, yeah, Will Smith has very strong feelings about divorce. I think, but because of his childhood, I think because of his family, the way he grew up.
So to like tone that down a little bit, like, can we put it on a normal person level of like everyday people that get married? So we're living in a different climate. We're living in the age of information. So if any point your significant other while you're in a marriage is unhappy, she's in the bathroom scrolling through her phone, swiping left, swiping right. You have no idea this is going on. Every time you hit a bump in the road, they're thinking, I have other options. And you may be thinking the same thing. How are marriages supposed to survive in that kind of climate?
But it's only going to survive.
Morals, pretty much.
That's
really.
Isle said it. I don't have to elaborate on that, Isle.
Yeah, you have to have stronger morals because that's why in the Christian sense of marriage, and I guess all the Abrahamic faiths really is you're making that covenant between you and your partner before the eyes of God. So even if you do have these feelings and these urges, because the spirit might be willing, but the flesh is weak, as it says. You have to know that you're fighting for your. You're fighting for your marriage, you're fighting for your spiritual enlightenment and enrichment, and you're supposed to seek, your other half being your married partner. So I think that's why it's like committing adultery is also against the 10 commandments. That's a commandment. You're not supposed to covet someone else's wife because, and not supposed to do adultery for this very reason. You're supposed to have higher calling, a higher purpose in marriage because you have already promised God that you will be with one person for the rest of your life because you love that one person. That's why you shouldn't be taking these vows seriously and doing it willy-nilly, just jumping into it for no reason.
I think that oh no, you go.
So even the man who was considered the man after God's own heart liked the woman so much that she sent her husband to the front lines to get off and slept with her.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how pious or what morals you have, you may end up there.
And what happened to King Solomon after something like that? He was cursed.
Oh no, that was David. He wasn't cursed.
I mean,
I think Solomon was the one who was called the man after God's own heart.
No,
but yeah. Okay, well, but in any case,
David happened. He was cursed.
Yeah. David was absolutely cursed for that. Right, like that whole. It's funny that's what our devotional was on just recently, but yeah, that was a curse for him. It ended up being a problem. I think, I don't really remember the very specific thing that God said. Because you have done this, then you won't get. Not that there was never.
You don't get to build the temple was the curse.
There we go. That's what it was. Yeah. So it's like we
not
see
much of a curse, but cool.
Well, I mean, considering like how
if you remember what happens to the Jewish people because the temple is not there,
Yeah, and
okay,
like that, if this is your whole
very-
life perceived.
very-
But yeah, we don't got to get too much into the Bible.
No.
But my point being that yes, so what you're just talking about is the fact that there was a person who specifically was who did something immoral, right? And I think that's just a flawed human being, and I think that
Yes.
is part of that's going to be part of what marriage is. It's going to be encountering flaws in your partner and choosing, despite those flaws, to say, I'm going to stick through this. I'm going to stand by you. We're going to get through to the other end. I don't know why that would be like a problem.
I think it's also a simple answer. Like, it's a simple answer to assume that like it's 100% on. It's it's an issue that only exists between you and your partner. I guess reference in the movie like her divorcing. Sure, it was something deeply internal
We
for
have to
her.
describe the movie for people who didn't
Oh
hear
well,
about
I'm literally referencing. I'm saying like, but her like she had a conversation with her mother about it,
But
and
who's this movie?
Yeah.
I don't have to describe anything. I just have to describe literally what I'm saying.
I just need the name of the movie, bro.
Honk for Jesus.
Okay, thank you. Like, now I know what you're talking about.
Okay, you don't. They can give you no
No,
context.
I do actually.
Okay.
I do.
You seen it? You watched it?
No, I've seen enough of the trailers and shit. I know what that movie is about.
Okay.
My friend worked on the production. Like, I know what this movie is.
It's not hard just to do what people are asking. I mean, that wasn't that difficult.
She had a conversation with her mother, and like even though she had her own internal stuff she was dealing with, it's kind of was representative of the idea that like for some people leaving your marriage is like shame, like your family sees you as shameful. They're like as a disgrace that you walked away. Like your friends, the people around you, especially for women, it can be harder. Like wow, you're divorced, you're a single mom, you're all of these big social characteristics that come with it. And sure, we live in like a more liberated time where like for some people maybe that's not that big of a deal, but for a lot of people's families that are in these marriages, that's a reality that like I don't want to go through the shame, the embarrassment, and the idea of losing people in my life because I make this decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the stigma attached to divorce is well founded, because most of the time, marriage isn't just between the individuals who got married. There is a community
It's
of
uniting
people.
families. Yeah, I mean that's literally what it does.
Yeah, there's support. Like, you have the family, and then people a lot of times extend themselves in order to support your marriage with the belief that you're going to give it your all and so on and so forth. So you're getting wedding gifts, right? Like you're getting money. You get people that might literally contribute to the actual cost of the wedding, right? Like a lot of times families chip in on that if they're like intelligent families and not just being ridiculous, right? In fact, there are so many studies that actually demonstrate that the more people you have that attend your wedding, then the longer that the wedding is, the more the wedding is likely to, the longer the marriage is likely to be.
So fear and shame is the
more
greatest
social
factor.
pressure.
Yeah, I think it could be a thing of social pressure, and you can say fear and shame. It could also be an indication of support to choosing if you want to just try to say look at this pejoratively or not. And I think those things it does matter. I think I don't see why we wouldn't. I don't.
Takes a village.
Yeah, absolutely. I think. Yeah, any person that thinks that they're just going to be in this in their relationship and there's not going to be any outside influences and that they're going to just be this stalwart couple that just figure it out on their own. Like, yeah, you're just.
I think that's
yourself
interesting
up for hard mode.
What you're saying, because, and look, I've never been married. Then of course I've never been divorced. But when I hear about people talking about breaking up or see it in film, sometimes something they say is that, well, we stood up there in front of all of our friends and family and made this vow, right? So like, one, I guess it feels like an embarrassment to break up the marriage, and like two, it's like we took this pact and we did it in front of all these people. Like we made this like sacred bond in front of them, and what does it say about us if we dissolve this thing, so when you tell me that there's some study, and I'll take your word for it, that says that the more people at the wedding, the longer the marriage stays. Like I can imagine that sentiment going through a couple's mind as they're contemplating breaking up, and that forcing them to stay longer. But is that a good thing, right? To try to circle this back, because we've been all over the place here, right? Like, is that a good thing? Like, shouldn't it be the case that this is a shouldn't it be the case that this is a vow between two people, that this is their business, and if it's becoming untenable, there shouldn't be those outside influences? Like, wouldn't we want these people to do what's healthiest for them, not what not to take into account like what their mother might say, right?
No, pressure bursts pipes, but it also
depends.
business diamonds. I think that pressure is good for the human experience. I think that
Yep.
the idea of like, because it can actually help. Like, it's an accountability thing. You've equating it to something that we see, like people who lose weight. They video document themselves because they know that like if they stop, they have some following. Some people is going to hold them accountable. People sign up for training for the same reason. So having some level of like, oh, okay, outside of me and you, we have other people who are making effort to support us and hold us accountable to a degree. I think that can be healthy. Like, I don't think that it's realistic to expect human beings who we understand are really flawed to like be able to bear all of this weight on their shoulders without any like outside influences, and just reasonably expect everything to go well.
Absolutely. And again, I want to make sure that it's pointed out. I was talking about two different factors. One of the factors is, yes, that guilt and whatever. But the other factor is the indication of likely support from those family members when you fall into difficult times. People can be a really great resource. Family can be a really, really great resource. And so I feel like we're being super reductive if we dismiss that resource aspect of it.
It also probably points to your financials to a degree. Like, if you have a bigger wedding, it probably costs more. That means you probably had more money to fund.
No, to the contrary. Actually, like money spent on the wedding has an inverse relationship with the length of the relationship. With the length of the marriage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. And then actually even same thing with like ring cost. People who spend more on their wedding, or like on their engagement rings, there's an inverse relationship on that. And how whatever. But then again, the other thing is this is what's really weird about it is, so if there's an inverse relationship on the money spent on the money spent on the wedding, but then there's a correlative effect of the amount of people at the marriage. I mean, at the wedding, and we know that people cost money. It's kind of, you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Like,
yeah. It's also I also heard that financials is one of the like top 3 biggest reasons for divorce. Is like
it is
issues of
finance. And never forget, because I've been educated on this, because you made this statement earlier, and Prime educated me on this the last time when I said the same thing, because everyone says this, but we're just wrong. The divorce rate is not 50%. It's not even close. The thing that is like leading people to believe that is that the people who get divorced very frequently. So those things are throwing off the statistics. But if you were to only count people who have gotten divorced as one divorce, then the divorce rate is actually significantly lower. It's just, niggas that are willing to get divorced keep getting married over and over again. And
it's only hard the first time. I always learn that about sports, relationships, of anything. If you ever quit something, it's only hard the first time. After that, you're like, oh, okay, I can do this.
If it doesn't work out for me at all, then I'm just out of it. That's it.
Unless it's cocaine.
Yeah, getting a tattoo is the hardest is the first one, but then once you like get over the fact that like your skin is marked permanently, then it's like, okay, let's do some more. But yeah, so like it's getting over that stigma, right? And you'll sometimes hear that from people who've gotten divorced. It's like, well, I tried it once and it didn't work out. Try it again, and I'm willing to just keep trying it until I find what works. Like dating,
They always say that, actually.
Man, I told my homie I wasn't flying in for another wedding, like just straight up. So, like, if y'all get a divorce and you have to get another one, bro. You getting another one. Hey, I'll catch you on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't
when it's
coming.
Facebook official.
Look, like, okay. Oh, dang, y'all got a ring and stuff. All right, that's great, fantastic. Y'all have a blessed life. like I'm not going to a second wedding. I'm not getting a second wedding gift. Like I'm not gonna keep giving y'all money to not work. Like I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
Yep.
it. One thing that I don't understand, and maybe somebody else understands it. Like I don't get the point of renewing your vows. Like what's the point of that? Like it just seems like extra money spent for no reason. Y'all could just sit down in the living room and go. Y'all can sit down in the living room and go. All right, cool. We done bullshitting. Let's get back to work. Let's fix this.
I think
And that'd be it.
Look, what you're saying makes sense, but I do think that there's like, for a lot of people, there's like power and like the symbolism of like, hey, we're committed in this way and so on and so forth. And that can like, that can be really powerful and a great motivator for people. Sometimes it'll give people like a feeling of reset, right? Where it's like, hey, like we struggled at some point and it does feel in some ways that our marriage has been tainted. And this is like a way for us to go ahead and like end the tainted portions of this relationship and start over anew. I think that's meaningful. I think
and I also think that. Oh my bad.
Go ahead. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I also think that with those things, I think that it's I think people do just enjoy things. Like the idea of like, oh, okay, the first time we got married, we were younger, we weren't in a financial position. Maybe we have better friends now. Maybe I want my kids to be a part of this. And you just do it again because like let's do it the way we always dreamed of this time.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
that can be part of it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. I really like what Fanatic had to say previously, especially when I was right. But no, no, I'm not gonna jump on you. I actually do like what he had to say. Like saying that couples renew their marriage to like to get that fresh start, right? Like we have gone through maybe something traumatic, or one or both of us have treated the other wrong, and we are going to turn the page here, and we're going to do this in front of our friends and family, right? Isn't just going to be like, hey, yeah, let's just do better for each other. It's like how like sometimes people need to like get away, right? Like you need to like exit a situation, like maybe like physically go somewhere else. Like you've been dealing with tough things, right? Go somewhere else. Like go on a maybe a bit of a vacation if you can afford it at some sort of out of state national park, or go visit friends somewhere else, right? I mean, you have friends in your local area, you got parks in your local area, but like you need to like physically move yourself, right? Like there's a point to that because like it just people need like a mental refresh, and sometimes it's moving each other physically to do that, or sometimes it's like doing like the I guess the work of putting together a whole event, of bringing people in for them to see you take this extra step. Like this is something special. We mean it. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting responses from you guys. I appreciate the responses. But at the same no, I'm bullshit. No, I agree with you guys. I just wanted to see what you guys thought on that, honestly.
But Bam, just to be clear, 100%. And maybe for like some people, like I'm not a person who is invested in symbolism, like almost at all. So like the idea of me spending extra money and time and investment and all this nonsense and the coordination, like just for to feel symbolically like something matters, I think is gross to me. Most of it's going to be in my own head and me understanding the way things are or whatever. Like that's the symbolism is actually really, really disgusting to me. Like the idea of wasting money on symbolism. That even plays into the ring. Now, obviously, you have no choice because women have been beguiled by Satan and De Beers. The ring is important, 100%. And so we have to do this. But in reality, that symbol is stupid and it doesn't make any sense. And it's not well founded. There's no historic reason why we should be doing that. But that's just the way the world works, right? So, yeah, I respect the idea that hey, it doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense for us to waste money in this way.
Before we move on, and I'll tell you, I just gotta shout out to Fanatic, right, for saying something that I feel in my bones, like the fucking De Beers, that company, the Diamond Company, and literally they instituted the greatest, the number one, the biggest advertising campaign ever, and where they convinced, especially Americans, but like through Americans, the rest of the world, that like you got to get a ring, a diamond ring, right? That's a symbol of love. And if you don't get that, then that's because like your husband doesn't value you. The fact that they pulled this off and they used the royals, putting it back, right? Part of that advertising campaign was through the royals, getting them to wear diamonds, right? And like, oh, look at the royals, they're doing it. And then they used Marilyn Manson for girls or diamonds are a girl's best friend. The biggest, most incredible advertising campaign this world has ever seen. Don't buy into it. You can just get like a regular wedding band. You can get jade on it. I don't know, right? There are other stones. You can do all kinds of things. But like diamond is bullshit. Just gotta get that out there. Sorry. Go ahead, Smooth.
We're back to the queen.
Diamonds technically aren't even rare. They just hoard them. Like, so
exactly.
You're not even getting something rare. Like they finessed us so hard.
So
that's amazing.
Listen, I know we wanted to avoid the Bible, but I'm just gonna go ahead and have to throw this in there really quickly.
Oh,
I just came up with this amazing. I feel like it's bars. Think about this, right? In the Garden of Eden, like you know how the Satan never approached Adam.
I say
right?
Marilyn Manson.
You
did say Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Monroe. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I always get it confused. That's my fault.
I run a good role.
100%. I respect it. I respect it. We knew what you was getting at though.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you look at like the way Satan approached, like the way Satan like got Adam to do this, right? Like to eat from the garden, you know, the forbidden fruit was through Eve, because he knew that there was no way Adam was going to be beguiled in that way. He just couldn't have gotten him in that way. So the only thing left for him to do was to go ahead and say, hey, Eve, I'll get you and then you'll give to your husband. And then that way I can get to you that way. Right. And we look at the way men make economic decisions. There is no way possible. There's no way possible you'd be able to convince men to continue to go ahead and buy diamonds when you know that they have no intrinsic value or anything like that. But they know that. And so they've never actually really primarily advertised to men. They've primarily advertised to women. And then the women feel like, nope, it's important to me. And if you value me, then you'll do this thing. And men just go ahead and say, all right, fine. Since it's so important to you, then I'll go ahead and do this thing that's important to you. But it doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to do this thing. And that's how they've done it.
It's just like the so-called pink tax, where they complain about so-called like wage gaps or things, like how that they cost more if it's pink, but really, well, then that just means that it's a silly thing. I don't think that's true.
Well, it is somewhat, but women will actually. Women are shoppers, and women they will spend the money. And just go ahead and buy the thing, right? Whereas like a small price increase is enough to discourage men from doing it. Whereas women are just like, no, we're going to get this thing. I want this thing. I'm going to get this thing. And they're not as concerned about price in that way. Whereas like men, it's like, yo, literally, no matter what, I'm not going to do this. And you see this in like dry cleaning, right? Like they charge women for the exact same type of gear. They'll charge women more. But part of that reason is because if a man gets something and it comes back and it's bad and it's like not done right, the man is going to sit there and say, we'll just take the thing and probably wear it and be fine. It's like, it's just a small little spot. Whereas women, if they encounter it, they're just like, no, you left a spot here. You're going to need to correct that, and they're going to bring it back to you. And so there is like an additional cost in that regard. Like I just think men are very, very, very cost conscious, significantly more so than women, and I think that's why we're that's why that pink tax exists.
Yeah, and me personally, just last thing I really want to say is like me personally, like I can't like the symbolic thing, like because me like even when you look back, like back in time, like they weren't getting married, like that didn't start happening till like the royals, like a lot of people weren't getting in the traditional sense married. Like it didn't start happening until the Middle Ages. Like people were getting, like they were coming together, but it wasn't marriage the way that we're used to seeing it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, you got with the king and now you're the queen. You know what I'm saying? Or you got with the queen. It was like a royal family thing. It was like a trading of good, but that was modern. Like the further you go back, it was just like, oh, we're together and we're just a thing. There was nobody.
You're saying you're just declaring it rather than having a
Yeah.
huge celebration, and then
Like common law.
necessarily it being an institutionalized, like it's a vow between two people actually, and rather than like this whole like industry that's around it, right? Like maybe you're saying like for royals they can afford that, so like a royal marriage is like a huge fucking thing, right? But people it became to emulate them and like through bigger and bigger marriages, rather than just like saying like between our small family of friends, yeah, we're together now, like, and we're gonna have children together. It's like, let's have this huge event, right? Like the way the royals do it.
Yeah, like
Getting back to the main topic.
most of the time, like just biblically, like they just went that night. You went to their tent and y'all had sex, and that was it. Y'all were married. Like that's how that went. Like that's what it was. Like, y'all fucking
okay, so
now?
I have been married
Bet.
a few times then. Right.
Y'all married.
How long?
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
about to say. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how. When you're saying not that long, like it depends on how far back you're going historically. Because like,
I'm going all the way back. I'm going all the way back because
like BC.
when you if you go all the way back, it didn't start happening like the marriage we know today till like the middle ages, like to like the 1100 1200. It's one of the 12.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Wait, are you saying marriage or you mean wedding?
Yeah,
wedding?
maybe,
Yes,
yeah.
wedding
or
sorry.
marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, wedding.
Wedding. Sorry,
Okay,
that's what.
But even then, I'm fine with that.
Word.
So that's still like 1,000 for 1,000. I feel like humans, like even like average citizens, have been doing whatever they could afford as a celebration of unity, like wedding for a long time. Like even when you say Middle Ages, you're talking like nearly 1,000 years.
Yeah,
Like
but
slaves
even
jumped
more than
through.
that though, because I mean, if we like look at like Jesus's like very first miracle, right? Wasn't that like him turning water to wine at a wedding? So it seems like this has been like a pretty long-standing common tradition, like for a while.
Yeah, I was just
among people rich enough to afford it.
In the conventional sense of, we got to get the dress, we got to get like all this extra stuff, then we have to get the government involved and get all these people like all these extra people involved. You know what I'm saying? Instead of it being like it was more of a family affair. Like it was like two families, maybe the people that lived across the street from y'all or whatever. And maybe if you were a little bit more wealthy and and like more known, like you invited some more people from outside that came in, but it wasn't the conventional.
I think it's just difference of means. But
no, but like isn't wasn't there also even like even in the Bible times, like the whole story about like, hey, there's a whole wedding here, and like a man is saying like, get all of our friends and family so that we can do this wedding, and like so on and so forth. Like it was still like a pretty social, like
it's a matter of means.
Well,
yeah. So I mean, so if the Jews were doing it, but even outside of the Jews, like I don't know. Maybe I need to do more research. I would think just from everything
Pagans
I know,
also having wedding
the pagans were having really long, like I don't know. That seems strange to me. It's possible that you're right, but I think weddings have been pretty common, and I think the thing that wasn't common was divorce. That was the thing that was like not like
that wasn't the thing.
Well, to Smith's point, like I'm like looking through the wiki page now because I don't know enough to like make some like heavy statements. But like I mean, I think what he's trying to get at is that like the influence that the rich and the powerful have had on others, like trying to emulate them. So I looked up like if you go to the Wikipedia page, right, and you click on the section white wedding. It says a white wedding is a term for a traditional formal or semi-formal Western wedding. The term refers to the color of the wedding dress, which became popular after Queen Victoria wore a pure white gown when she married Prince Albert, and many were quick to copy her choice. Like I think that's what he's trying to get at. Here.
I believe that.
That's a really small
weddings in general.
But
yeah, that's a really small like portion of the whole tradition, right?
No, I know, and I agree with you. But I'm using this as one example. I think what he's trying to get to is that what we look at, like these traditions evolve like so slowly over time. It's hard to like track them, So you kind of like need historians to do these types of things. But like why does a wedding look the way it it is. Like I'm gonna actually be involved. This is all very coincidental, but I'm gonna be involved in a wedding very soon. Not my own. I'm gonna be involved in a wedding.
Oh, I once crashed a wedding, and it was pretty good.
Wedding very soon. And there are a lot of pieces fucking involved in this, right? It's a whole fucking procession. It's a lot. A lot of things are gonna happen here.
A lot.
And why does it look that way? Right? Like nothing extraordinary in the wedding I'm going to is happening, right? Nothing like it's a standard Western wedding, but like there's just so many moving parts to this thing. And why do we do those things? Why are these things culturally like normative for us?
So you're
And
saying, like,
part of that,
commercialization?
well, commercialization, I think that's a really good answer right there. I think part of it is what Smooth was saying, that like people saw the rich doing it, like and the celebrities and the royals doing it, and then start copying some of those things. But yeah, like let's not forget the wedding industrial complex that actually does exist, right? Like there's a lot of money by selling the idea of weddings, selling the idea of like, well, this is what it has to look like. Putting Instagram, I'm telling you, it's been a huge boon to the wedding industry, where you can see other people's wedding, right?
And Pinterest.
Like, exactly, and go like, oh, I want one of those, right? And if like, and this is the thing I've always dreamed of now, and if he doesn't give that to me, right? Well, then this must mean something about our relationship. Like,
sure,
this shit's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I think
that's not just for weddings. That's for literally every aspect of life.
Yeah.
Social media has really shaped us into wanting everything everyone else wants. We're obsessed with a lot of this stuff. Like, for example, I don't give two farts about what happens with the royal family now that racist old hag has died. I don't care. I'm not invested. I don't care if Meghan Markle becomes whatever or her kids get what property, or none of that matters to me because it has no impact on my actual life. I don't think it has an impact on most people's lives. I don't care. I don't care about Kanye West divorcing Kim Kardashian, and the fact that she can't make any of her relationships work. None of that matters to me. Why would I be invested in that? I don't care if Chloe has 3 different kids by 3 different babies. I don't know. I'm not interested. I don't care. But some people really do. They get really invested in reality TV. Like, I think the show 16 and Pregnant, I think that was a really, really, really terrible thing for like the American psyche. And I think people watching MTV and daytime television like normalize that kind of behavior. In the same sense, I think the more divorce has like been normalized, I think it's a catastrophic thing for Americans. We shouldn't have normalized this. It shouldn't be like just a thing, a common idea of like, oh, the relationship isn't working, I'm going to get a divorce. Children who have divorced parents are more likely to get divorced themselves because they normalize it and think, oh, it's just a kind of a thing. I remember hearing this story of this guy who was a therapist, I believe it was, and working with these young kids. It was a 5-year-old kid, and he had gotten his mom had divorced his dad, and he was living with his mom, and he said, when I'm grown and I get married and I get divorced, I'm going to pay my child support on time. He had already normalized the idea of divorce and child support and all of that, right? Like it's so this wasn't a man if things go awry or whatever. It was just already like embedded in his brain. This is just kind of the course of things. We don't recognize how much stuff gets normalized towards children and how much stuff gets normalized in society. In the same way that weddings have become like this big old like money-making machine, so has divorce. Like there are entire lawyers who like their whole thing is about quick divorces and easy divorces and so on and so forth, but taking a bunch of money in order to like help you dissolve your relationship. So all of this stuff I think is pretty gross. And we need to stick to, I think if we could get back to, hardcore biblical traditions, we could get to a point where we can start avoiding all of this nonsense and actually thrive as a society. Because children suffer in divorces.
Yeah, we can make the world a better place if we were more moral.
I know. I'm about to say I knew we're at the end of this topic. Just a quick thing. 16 and Pregnant was actually super beneficial. I think in the like nationally, I think people who watched the show, like I think it led to like a 6% decrease in teen pregnancy, and then the counties that the like people were actually from, they had like 20% decreases in teen pregnancy.
I don't want to be like those
really
motherfuckers.
rough.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like super big on
Okay.
like, oh, okay, it's maybe not cool to be pregnant as a teenager because their lives were like the show, like the people in the show were struggling. Like I don't know if they were, I don't think they were getting paid nearly enough. Like,
I think they became celebrities after the fact.
No,
but,
they were
like,
in absolute squalor. They were in
but Fanatic. All right, so we don't have time to super get into this. So maybe we have to make this a separate topic. I don't know, but like I just wanted to push back because I think divorce should be normalized as an option. That like if things are first of all abusive, then people need to exit, right? But
Sure.
beyond abuse, which I know you're going to agree to, like there are marriages that like just aren't working, right? No one's particularly being abusive, but just like needs aren't being met, and you can like try your best. And I think you should try your best to make it work, to reconcile, to like try to meet your partner where they're at, because that's going to happen on literally every level, right? There's going to be a difference between the two of you, and you're going to have to like make some sort of compromise to make the thing work. Okay, but there's going to be compromises that are too big, and or for whatever reason these two people just can't make those compromises, and so outside of the area of abuse, I think it should be normalized that people should get divorced, should step out of this marriage, rather than just be unhappy for decades and then die, right?
if you only have
Sure.
one life to
Well,
live,
I just don't believe we should make
there
the
are
most
ways.
important decisions in our lives on shame and fear of what's going to happen, how people are going to perceive us. So I'm going to stay in this abusive, horrible, loveless marriage because I don't want the rest of my family to be like, oh, what happened?
Well, sure.
Well, I mean,
sure. But again,
like
you
the
shouldn't
worst
be
life.
abused.
My one argument
Yeah,
is maybe y'all should stop marrying people you shouldn't have married in the first place.
How do you come on?
Yeah, how are you going to know that though?
Bro,
No,
no,
no. Oh, I
people
can.
get married
Oh,
too
okay.
fast.
That's exactly the problem.
A lot of people ignore red flags early on just for the sake of love and just for the sake of
Desperation.
We'll eventually iron it out. Desperation is one of them. I'm not gonna ever get married. You know what I'm saying? Blah
Okay,
blah
I
blah.
agree
Like
with you
people. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we have these kids. Let me man up and get. You know what I'm saying? Marry this woman, even though I don't love her. You know what I'm saying? And I never will. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
I
Like
just know
those
people who get
are
married
the
after like
things.
6 months. I don't think that you like, no matter how strong you feel about a person, I don't believe that. I think you can like them, but I don't think you can know I want to spend the rest of my life with a person in 6 months and even a year, honestly. Like,
Sure.
Years.
People ignore too much. That's my point. People ignore way
So if
too
that's
much.
what you mean, Smooth, then I agree with you, right? Like if there are like obvious red flags, but like Fanatic said, you're marrying out of desperation. That like or maybe I forget which one of you said it, and it was a really good point that some people like the title of being married. I think it was you, Smooth. Yeah, like that they love the title of that, like being man and wife, and so to get that, then they'll like hook up to people, like marry people who they know they shouldn't. Then in that case, and I perfectly agree with you. Don't do that, right? There are other things that people just can't see, right? Like I've talked to some women, they've told me about their divorce, and there are things like there's no way they could have fucking known this shit was gonna happen.
Yep.
Well,
I think
if you're in an
so.
abusive marriage, you should annul it. But other than that, like you should try your best if there's no abuse to like work through the rough patches and see if you can like stay together and forge through, because that's what you promised to do. And if you have lots of people in your community, your friends, your family that are all cheering you on and trying to hold you accountable because they watched you make that covenant before God to be together, I think that that might be a reason why you should try and tough it out as long as you can. But if there's something like really wrong, we're saying you could have always annulled a marriage. Like if there is infidelity, that's a reason to exit a marriage if you can prove that other one did infidelity. For women, I think impotence was always a thing. Like if your man was impotent, you can annul your marriage and try and do something else, because one of the reasons for marriage was to make a child, was to raise children. So that was one of the reasons why you can have a marriage annulled back in
I think
the
two
day.
people being unhappy.
So like there are different ways.
That's brutal.
Being legitimately unhappy,
But
like
anybody,
there are no good moments, like then
people.
Shame be dang.
That's why I said you have to work towards making yourself
Sure.
happy. You have to like you break bridges and things.
Yeah, these are
You're
like
not always
all
going to be
generally
happy.
Right. And these are all generalizations, right? And but the idea is one, yes, people a lot of times get married really, really early without actually considering like the cost, right? And I'm not talking about financial costs. I'm just talking about the investment and so on and so forth. I think the same exact things happens with children, where a lot of times you find people haven't done any of the groundwork about like what are your plans as far as your children's education? What are your morals as far as like allowing your children into whatever? How do you plan on raising your children? It's just I just want kids, and I think I'll just do it right when it comes. And it's like, okay, do you like public, private education? Which one are you thinking about? Are you thinking about like where are your children going to live? Like, is it important to you where your children live? Like what's going to be their culture, right? Like, how do you feel about sports? How do you what type of extracurricular do you think, right? Like, or like just there's a billion things to consider, and I think a lot of times people get infatuated with the ideas themselves while literally doing zero groundwork towards what it actually means to do any of these things. And I think the same thing happens with marriage. You can get married 3 months after meeting people. You can get married and like after a person is cheating and thinking, yeah, but it'll change them. That is one of the biggest failures. I think a lot of times people think marriage will change people. I remember having a friend who literally said, well, we had been together for a long time. We had a kid together. And I started thinking that maybe, having a kid, would like kind of like restore the feelings that I had for her from the beginning of the relationship. And it's like a lot of times people have all of these misconceptions, and we're not children now. Also, I think premarital counseling should be an actual mandatory if you're marrying anybody, right? Because counselors are going to force you to encounter certain things that some people might just be really uncomfortable doing. And I think like that's obviously helpful.
The church
right?
does that too.
Yeah. If you have a good church, that is something that they should be doing. And again, I think we can be pejorative in saying, oh, just staying only because you're afraid of the stigma. But sometimes it can be staying because of the additional support, because of the additional pressure, like provided by the people who are also investing into you. Marriages benefit not just you, but a family, right? Your children, the extended family, the merging of families and things like that. So it is a devastating thing to more than just yourself. And I think that's a good enough reason to want to put in extra work towards making a marriage work. But if you're finding that this thing still, despite all of that, cannot, then yeah, of course you should be able to get a divorce. But again, these are all just general statements. And there's all sorts of exceptions and nuance to the human condition.
Yeah.